Okay, now we're getting to a unit on summarizing information. So far, the queries that we have written, the SQL select statements, have always produced often a number of rows, usually one row per record coming out and that sort of thing. But we're going to look at a different way of processing queries. And this is a form of the select statement that causes it to summarize data for you, do addition and averaging and that kind of stuff. We'll start out with a typical SQL statement, the kind of which we've seen plenty of times before. Select star from department, and when we run this thing, it will produce one record for each of the department names that happen to be in the department table. Now, that's fine, and that's what we've been doing. But what I want to know, I want to ask how many records are in the department table. Well, right now, the only way we know how to do that is to do this, run something like this and then start counting records. But that's tedious and error-prone. So we really want the computer to do the counting for us. So what we're going to specify on the output is not an asterisk or any one field name. We're simply going to say count asterisk from department. And when we do that, what we'll get is a one row, one cell output that says there are 12 rows in the table. And since it's kind of ugly as a header, we'd often, add a good name like number of departments, PARTMENTS, like so, and then run that query. Oops, no, that worked. It's complaining because I used double quotes here instead of single quotes like that. Now the red squigglies went away, still get the same results. So that's a quick query for doing counting records, and it produces a one row, one column output. Now, if we scroll down inside the file, I've got another example here, which is count of faculty. Does exactly the same thing, except on the faculty table. And when I run this thing, then it shows there's 26 faculty in the table. So you can do this on any table, and I've got to rename the column header here. Now, in addition to the count function, there are several others that do some basic mathematical or statistical calculations for you. There's count. Sum just adds up all the rows in the table. So in this case, we're summing up the salary of all the professors in the faculty table. Here we're giving the average salary. AVG is the name of the function, and then the minimum and maximum. So in a single query, we can sum up several different and calculate a whole bunch of different statistics in a single query. Note that regardless of how many rows there are in the faculty table, we are getting one row back from this query. Now before, our count asterisk or count star here got us only one row, one column back, but now we're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns back. So let's run this query and see what we get. So 26 faculty members. The total salary, it's a little hard to read, is a whopping $11,618,000. I'd love to work in this college. Average salary is $44,000. No, $446,000. What an enormous number! Not realistic at all. The lowest is $77,000, and the highest is $9 million. What an enormous salary somebody has in this stool. I generated this data using a website that we'll get to later in the semester, and clearly I used numbers that were too big when I was generating it. But the important takeaway from this is there are several different functions you can use to very quickly calculate statistics without writing much code at all. So that's the intro to summarizing. We'll go on and look at a little more complex versions of some of these statements, but they're all going to use these functions right here. Count, sum, average, min, and max.